G'day and welcome to the Infronters. I'm 𝐒𝐲𝐢. Today I'm joined by the Astropub, or Paul, and Algared, or the Colonel, if you know him as that. Sorry.
Yeah, I deliberately didn't wear the bow tie because of that.
Yeah. So we've actually come off like a 3-hour little bit of an argument / debate / all losing equally type of situation here. We're gonna go. What we're gonna go through today is basically the ships that kind of the more you kind of how do you word this? Paul, you worded it probably better than I.
I'll word it. So you'll notice that a lot of times when we talk about fix my fleet, or we talk about ships being like on the line, or the value of a ship when we're talking about it on Infrarunners, we've gotten a lot of comments about what's that line? What does that line look at? What are you guys basing these things on? And so we decided to sit down and actually draw up that line, and then we shouted at each other for 3 hours trying to figure out for some ships. But essentially, what these are is the value of a ship in terms of purchasing it with cash, with cold hard cash, with your money, not with a UEC, with money, in terms of its value, in terms of how well it will increase in its value when the game releases.
Yeah, kind of like
purchasing a ship now.
Maximizing your investment is how I'd
maximizing your investment.
Yeah. But before we get to that, I do have two things I have to kind of like. We don't do a lot of housekeeping on this show, if you've watched the show for a fair bit. The first thing I want to talk about is we're running our own eco server for the game 𝐒𝐸. We've invited a few different Star Citizen communities to come in. The server will be called 𝐒𝐸. We're hoping to kick it off about American Friday time, which will be Australian Saturday, and I think a few other places Saturday as well. So that'll be the starting date. If you're interested in joining us, you can jump on the Infronters Discord, or get in touch with one of the Infronters and they'll put you into the right place. The server is up at the moment for testing, so if you've never played the game before, you've got a week to jump in and play around and learn the ropes, because it is one of those games, if you don't get in early, you kind of get a little bit left behind. But other than that, that was the first thing. And then the second thing is the kind of giveaway that we've been working on for quite a while. This gentleman here in the image that I brought up is Eric Jaden Lanza. There was a gentleman that is giving the ship away, and I'll just tell you a little bit about Eric. He came back from deployment after about 20 years away. Shortly after he retired, he unexpectedly passed away. And the guy that wants to give the ship away is just a mate that had purchased this ship to play with his friend, and he just couldn't bring himself to melt it. And so he kind of has some kind of emotional attachment to this ship because of his friend, which makes a lot of sense. And he knows his friend and him would both really like someone to fly this ship, and he really likes the Infrarunner as well. So basically he just wants to give it away to someone that that will really value the ship and can use it. And he's asked me to pass on a small message here that just says, life can be all-consuming and we lose touch with good friends. We should take the time now to reach out and enjoy life with each other, and to do it now, not later. So with that, we've talked with a gentleman that wants to give it away, and basically what we've kind of decided to do is, if you use the hashtag Jaden, which is the name, it'll be in the description below as well, but if you use Jaden, which is gamer tag, so hashtag Jaden, in any of the comments between now and when the ship is given away, you'll be eligible, man, that does not roll off my tongue, eligible to win an F7A upgrade. He's also donated an F7C, which the Infrorunners is going to upgrade to an F7 Super Hornet, which is also makes it the best use of that F7A upgrade, which is going for $350+ at the moment. So we don't kind of want anyone to kind of not so waste it, but we want you to maximize the benefit of it. And basically, once we reach about 12,500 subscribers, we will give that away. And so that's what we're going to do. Yeah, and all you have to do is
I'll add a little bit. You know, and please do honor Jaden's memory, and try to, you know, if you're going to enter, think about reaching out to someone you haven't reached out for in a long time, a parent, an uncle, an aunt, a friend. Just life is too short to not try to reach out to those who, you know, you never know. Something you haven't thought of in a long time.
We did try to show some more funny sides of Jaden's personality. I still giggle when I see the force reaction one there.
And his mate was a bit worried that it would get him in trouble.
But I think it's hilarious because that's the type of stuff I did. Like I used to do a lot of Photoshop stuff like that with my friends and stuff when I was younger. So yeah, I kind of enjoy that stuff. But with that out of the way, we may bring this up once or twice in the future just to remind people. But I just wanted to kick that off. So if you're after a rare ship, and you know someone that would, even someone that doesn't have the game, because I do believe it's a package as well from memory. I will double check that, but at the moment from memory it is a package. And that means that it can go to someone that really deserves it. So if you know someone that you think that can do it many, and put it this way, if you win, I'll add this. If you win, I'll even let you give it to someone else. So if you win it and you know there's someone that's really deserving, you can give it to them. And that way we'll make sure that this gets to someone that Jaden would be really proud to see flying his ship. All right, and I did call him Jaden because that's his kind of gamer tag. All right, with that, we'll move on over to the browser. And I don't know, Algared, I'll let you kick us off. Do you want to start at the bottom and work our way up, or should we just start at the medium, boys?
Well,
because
if we start at the bottom, we're basically saying these are the ships that are all generally in that low category, less than $200. There are a couple of ships in there that are $400 or more, but these are the ships we say they don't scale well. They're really poor value. They don't do the best at ever doing. They're woeful, and so So
I will say this: you got to remember that we're not saying that these ships are always bad. Some of these ships are fine ships. We're talking about in terms of buying them with actual cash. So if your ship is in that list, either if you see it or you hear us talk about it later, don't say that we're sitting here hating on your ship. We're just saying that ship is not nearly the same kind of level value. That's
right.
As the other ships above it.
It's not the best at what it does. It's not rare. It's not value for cash.
Yeah.
So
Algared, if we see those ships in someone's fleet, they're the ones that we encourage them to melt in a Fix My Fleet episode. Essentially.
So they're generally the ones we'd say below this line. They're what we're melting.
That's kind of what this ship is. This episode is in a way. This is almost a help you guys build your own guide to Fix My Fleet. Like, you know, you can see the different lists. And the other thing I think we kind of also need to add to this list as well is you have to take your own feelings into account. And I think kind of Paul hinted on that just then. Like, if you're really into a particular ship, you go get that ship. You know, I can't, or none of us can put a price on how you feel about a ship. We are literally putting a monetarily value on these ships. We're not, kind of maximizing your investment. The ships that are going to really multiply in value.
And some of those
more valuable in the future.
Some of those low ships are really fun to fly at the moment. I was out with one of our backers flying the Hurricane. It was great, great fun.
Yeah.
I've been flying the Aurora myself. Great fun, but it doesn't
maximize in value. Yeah,
that's right.
Doesn't scale
let's start with the one that's at the bottom of the medium then, because I know Paul, like for example, Paul doesn't like this ship, which is the Redeemer. But again, I don't mind this ship. But there are so let's kind of deep dive a little bit into this ship just so people can kind of see where we're at. So it's a combat ship. So generally combat ships are a little bit more overpriced, but also it doesn't so on a personal note, Paul, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to say you kind of don't like this because is it a lore reason because of the weird things?
It's mostly a meme, but there is a lot of reasons I don't like it. One of the major reasons I don't like it is that it was when it was originally built, it was built as an iWin ship, as a ship that literally had everything you wanted. So when people got it, people were buying it, and I was sitting there going, "It's going to change. It's not going to be as good of a ship as you think it is," because they wanted to win a competition. It wasn't a ship built for Star Citizen; it was built for a competition. Yeah. Then it also has the ugliest sim,
and it was and in the process of building it, it was being built to find people who could use CryEngine, which was the system they were using, and they were after CryEngineers. So so there's a lot of reasons. Like if you bought this back then, if you're one of those people who bought this back then, you really should consider getting a different ship depending on what you actually want to do. I mean, we already know that 𝐒𝐞𝐢𝐳 has no style or class. I mean, there's two gentlemen here who are wearing suits and ties, and he's sitting there in a Superman shirt and a dirty T-shirt, a Two Manhattans dirty T-shirt.
So I'm basically the most. I'm going to say so. I'm the target audience, and you guys just criminally insulted every single one of them. But okay, yeah, sure. Right.
Exactly.
No. We're the class.
Do you really picture our audience? I don't want to insult our audience, but like, do you really picture our audience at home with like the monocle and the suit, going, "Oh, I'm gonna sit there and watch Infernals. This will be amazing."
You know they're gonna take that in chat.
I'm gonna see all the memes and pictures of people like taking photos of themselves now in their Sunday best, sitting at the desk. All right, okay, that's what I want to see, but we'll see. All right.
But I will argue. I will say I understand your argument, which is this thing kicks like a mule in terms of its firepower. It is absolute unbristling amounts of firepower.
Mini hammerhead for me is what I say it is.
And often and there's not much that gets better than it in terms of its firepower. It just it just has a lot of punch. So
I am going to move on because we've spent 3 minutes on one ship, and if we do that, this ship is going to take an hour and a half.
I meme too hard on it, and
but that
people hate it for it.
So. We were going to go deep into one, so that's one that we went deep into, right? The one last thing I'll add that we should have added at the start is that medium-high one in there wasn't really going to be there, but they were the 4 ships that we struggled to agree on, right? And some of them
at each other for 3 hours about
those ships. And the Hercules probably took 45 minutes alone, right? But then I kind of said, and then I kind of turned around and said, well, let's just make a minimum one, and then we found a lot just dropped into that because we were up and above and we're trying to vote, and then we went, no, stuff it, let's just check in the middle. Oh, I also would like to point out, 𝐶 did join us for this list. He was too busy to join us for the episode, but he did join us to help with this list. So this includes 𝐶, and we did have a couple of the supporters in there helping us as well. So this is a bit of a consensus.
Let me also add to the fact that anything that's medium or above, we are generally agreed on that it's not a bad investment.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
Basically those are InfoRunner approved. Anything that's medium or above.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You want me to kind of go? You want me to go through the list just for the names because some of these pictures are a little wonky and it'll probably like.
Yeah, well, I think we'll go. I think we will go a little bit into each ship, just like a little like one sentence from each of us on each. So let's just go to the Genesis, a Genesis Starliner. So why does it sit there for each of us? So for me, the Genesis could be a lot higher tier than that, but it's not, because they've actually stated that when this day one of the game, this ship will, because it's such a good money earner straight off the bat, they increase the price. They've actually said that in documents and stuff. And so for me, it drops down because it's higher priced than it should be. Why should a ship be punished for being good straight out of the gate? And that's, to me, that's a bad thing. So it's actually a CIG problem for me. Anyway, too much. I said too much.
I was going to say the same thing. It's priced at what its valued is. It's not. It's not going to. Its value isn't going to be higher. So,
Algared, you got anything to say, or?
Yep. And for me, the Genesis Starliner, while it may be the best passenger ship in its line, because CIG have said it can make the most money straight out the bat, it's not worth it. It's overpriced, and that's why it drops.
I think when we do you want, I'm going to combo a couple of these together, and if you guys disagree, that's then say you disagree. But I'm going to put a couple of the daily drivers together. So things like the Corsair, the Mercury Star Runner, the Caterpillar, the Retaliator, and the Constellation. Would you agree with all those? Mm-hmm. They're that daily driver group that we talk about, and they are all in that medium category for that. Is there anything that you guys want to specific, like, just? Are you happy to say that that's the daily grab review, just to speed this up a little bit? Or the
only thing I'll add is that these are things that most people will have that will do multiple things rather than just one thing.
General use.
They're good general use, and they're priced at generally lower than their actual value.
Yep.
Not too much, but generally lower.
Yep. And then I think there's probably 2 there that we could pull out, and even the MSR might fall into this a little bit. The Apollo and the Mole, they're kind of like the medium profession ships in that point. And I would also like to point out we don't have any large medium profession ships yet. We do have Capital, but we don't have large. So when they come along, we will have to reassess this list. And this list is something that we will we'll link to, and we may update over time as well.
And again, if you look
at the living list,
if you look at the Apollo, that's right. So a living working list. But when you look at the Apollo there, the Apollo is a really good ship for what it can do in terms of medical gameplay. But when we compare it to, is it the best of its job? Well, no, because we've got the Endeavour that's going to be the full hospital. So it doesn't make that high level. It's still not that medium high, because we do expect there'll possibly be a ship that's in between the Apollo and the Endeavour. So
that might also be why we need a medium high, because when those large ships out, they'll probably start sitting on that list, Algared. Yeah, you're totally right.
So there is a level of speculation as we're doing this, but we're taking a best educated guess as to what we know from what's in game.
Did I say Retaliator when I said the general? I might have missed the Retaliator. That falls in with that everyday.
I
did? Okay, cool.
You did say Retaliator. You didn't mix it up like we normally do.
Yeah. So then we've got, I guess you could almost chuck 600i in there too for the general ones as well. Again, if you're looking like the Redeemer, the opposite of the Redeemer, or not opposite, but in the same camp of that combat, you've obviously got the Vanguard. So that kind of, similar thing. The only ship left there then would be the Valkyrie. Now, the reason that drops down, believe it or not, is as soon as you go into the next line when you get to the Hercules, it is in the same vein as the Hercules, but it's just not as good as the Hercules. And we also had a lot of discussion between the Hercules and the Caterpillar and stuff like that. But the Valkyrie is not, like some of these also would be lower down even within their own category. We're just trying to show you kind of where the line is. So
the Valkyrie might be a medium low, but it's just, and there's just like, for instance, a good example of it is it has so many seats. For troop transport. As a troop transport, it's just, and we know that seats matter now. So it's like, it's not low. It's worth a lot of money. It's really overpriced, but it's like it's hard to beat it in terms of that, in terms of what it has. So
you can hear the difficulty of how we had to do these ships just in that one sentence of his voice. So when we were in a group of about 5-6 people, this is quite difficult. And as you can kind of see, if you go through the list, like we've now kind of hit. I've just realised we kind of missed the whole series. Did I miss the whole? There was no whole. Whole C.
No,
there's no whole C. Where's the whole C?
You put it in. I don't know. This is the problem with the
okay. So the whole C should be in medium, but it's not in there. I don't know why, but it's not there. All right. So basically, what we did, we had A and B in low, C in medium, D in medium high, and E made it into high. So just to make that clear for anyone that's trying to look for the whole series.
Oh, it is there. It's next to it's between the Retaliator and the Caterpillar.
Oh, it is too. Sorry, there it is. My bad. Sorry.
It's just hiding there. The image doesn't look like it normally does.
Yeah. We're trying to get a text version of this as well for you guys to read through, because these images aren't great.
I'll put that in. I'll try and put that in the description, but I'll also see if I can. I'll maybe chuck this image up somewhere, and you can grab that as well. So the Hercules, we went backwards and forwards, up and around and over for ages on that one, because there is definitely...
clarifying on this one, everyone agreed that it was high except for 𝐒𝐞. And 𝐒𝐞 was just standing his ground, and we kept screaming at each other for 45 minutes because 𝐒𝐞 was stamping his feet saying it's medium, it's not high, which is the reason why the medium high...
But well, there's a few other ships, but my argument for that was the Banner Merchantman, but we can talk more about my argument if you want, but we can move on.
We're not going to rehash.
Yeah, I don't want to rehash.
Yeah,
so
it really came down to the cost versus versatility, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the two opposite ends. And
I still think there might be other ships that do some of its role, and that's kind of where I'll stay. The Starfarer. This was another one where it can go high or low. High or medium. Because they have taken things away from it. But if you've seen our episode that we did at the end of last year, was it the end of last year? Yeah, it was the end of last year. Yeah. There are some other things that the ship can do, and I almost can look at between the Hercules and the Starfarer, though. You must imagine eventually there's going to be some other kind of refinery fuel ship that comes along, because it's the only ship that gathers gas. Now, whether that's a ship that's larger or smaller, it's hard to tell. But I'm imagining at some point, and if that does happen, then maybe the Starfarer will raise or lower accordingly in this list.
And the Starfarer does sit as kind of as I've often called it, a mini Hercules, because it does the small vehicles and crew and cargo, but it's still got that fuel aspect, and that's what makes it that level. And as we were saying before the show, it really is the one ship that really does walk that line between high and medium, and so. That's why it sits in that category there.
Yeah. The Hammerhead. Can I also add, just quickly why I'm thinking of it, because I will forget if I don't mention this, the Perseus is also in the same place as the Hammerhead.
Yes.
The Perseus was not... So we actually used a tier list system to do this, and the Perseus was not on that tier list. So we had to end it manually. So that will be on the list, but the text list, but it won't be in this image. So yeah, the Hammerhead and Perseus, because they're not quite as good as they're large ships, but they're not like... You'll hear people in our own community go, they're not corvettes, they're large ships, and that's why they're not as good. And that's the same thing. They are technically large ships, they're not corvettes. And if you look at their gameplay, they're almost priced at the same price as they're not. I know they're not, but they're similar, very similar price range to the Nautilus and the Polaris, and that's why the Polaris and the Nautilus are in the high tier, and why these guys have dropped down one. And we didn't feel completely comfortable dropping them all the way down because they are going to potentially maximize in value, but for what they are, we also kind of don't recommend them. So there are exceptions to these rules, again, so to speak. So the Perseus is something that I tend to not recommend unless someone's really into combat. That's when we tailor it to someone in Fix My Fleet. And I think you'll notice if you've ever watched Fix My Fleet, I don't think we've ever recommended a Hammerhead, have we, Algared? Or Paul?
I don't think so. If we have offered it, it's been offered with the Redeemer being an option, because you actually see the Redeemer as that small Hammerhead. And the reason that Hammerhead does make that higher level is because it really is the best AA torpedo interception ship in game at the moment, and it probably is the pinnacle of that. But its price value and the type of ship it is, it's just too high a price, and so that's why it drops down in that level.
You want to say, Paul?
I was going to say that it's important to remember that a lot of these ships are also, when we're talking about the medium, high, and high, we're talking about also value in terms of how much time and effort and money it's going to take in game for you to reach these as well. So like, for instance, like the Hammerhead, we already know, for instance, how expensive a Hammerhead is in game, and it compared to its real world price, not really valuable. It's like, the price is too much, but it does have that unique factor is there is nothing like it in terms of an anti-torpedo and anti-fighter platform. Just hands down, at its size range, nothing beats it for that.
And then there's the other aspect, which is a negative, where I know you were doing the Exo threat today, and you guys took a Hammerhead, and you still didn't have a full crew, even for your group, and so getting a full crew could be difficult. Yeah.
Which ironically is why the Perseus goes in front of the Hammerhead. If you were going to put it in like a true tier list, that would be why the Perseus, because it just needs less people. Right, let's move on. Obviously, we've talked about the whole series already, so I'm going to kind of skip the whole series. We can talk a little bit about the D, but there are some ships in this top high tier that even Algared and I don't recommend when we regularly do FMF. And I think, again, that comes into that whole personalizing for the actual person. So we don't get, like, the whole series is one. Another one is the Pioneer. We don't get a lot of people that are after the Pioneer. But when we talk to the person and they say that stuff, that's when we recommend them. But what you'll find is generally when we're dealing with people, especially when they've got a really large fleet, they're the ships that we're talking about. Almost every single time, they're the cream of the crop.
And generally, it's just because they are the top tier of their profession.
Best
so if
bang,
you're really into that thing, you can't get better than that.
Best bang for buck is what I'd say. We always say that.
Either there's nothing else in its class that is as good as it, or even it's just there's nothing else like it in there. Like, for instance, the Orion. The Orion is top tier not only because it's the biggest mining ship, but it's a mining and refining ship, and
it's just cheap.
Comparatively.
Cheap comparatively.
Well, and this kind of proves our point, like, because Sue was there at one point talking about how the Carrack had gone up and up and up, and I said, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. It's getting more and more expensive because it's increasing in value. The Orion's done the same thing, and I'm not like taking that same experience that you said also with the Orion being a refinery. Several of the other ships do that as well, kind of like the Reclaimer, and that's why the Starfarer might like yes, it can't grab the Quantanium anymore, but it can still at least refine the fuel now. So there's a few ships that fall into us.
Hydrogen.
And then
So let's
like our,
let's go.
I've got to mention the Cult of the Endeavor because
Yeah,
we
but we're
are
going to go
Cult
through
of the
them.
Endeavor.
We're going to go through them all, Algared. So let's just go
Right.
Carrick. So Carrick. This is still one of the best bang for buck ships in the game at the moment at a Alpha UEC to dollar ratio right now. Now this list is mainly for long term, but still really great ship. Does a lot of things. Modularity out the butt. Exploring. Pretty low crew count. Stuff like that. Anything you guys want to add on the Carrick?
There's no other exploration ship like it.
Yeah,
It's the best.
Yeah.
Period.
Top tier exploration ship comes with a Pisces and an Ursa.
Can't beat it.
And also has ridiculous amounts of versatility inside of it.
Yeah.
Even its cargo bays can be configured. It's nuts.
We don't even know what the modules are going to do, but just the fact that it's modular adds more to it again. So so there's still unknowns, but they're more likely going to add than subtract from it. Pioneer. Now, for me, I just add a little negative on here. Of the economic-based ships in this higher tier, it is probably one of the weaker ones. And it's probably another reason why we don't recommend it as much. And I would say it's not quite the same, but it's also another reason why you don't see us recommending the whole E very much, because it's a cargo gameplay you can get on a lower tier ship, and you're not going to take as long. Like think how long. It's just one gameplay over and over, and you've got it elsewhere as you are leveling up. But that said, working together with a fleet could be bloody amazing on this ship. But again, the time to unload it and stuff like that. The Pioneer for me, it's going to rely heavily on other ships that are in this high tier list, like the Orion and the Reclaimer and that, to get the materials to it. So it's one of those ships that is not reliable, as in it can't stand on its own 2 feet. It needs other ships to work with it.
It still needs others, even though it's so big.
Yeah.
However, it is the best at what it does. No other ship can do what it does. If you want to build a base, you need to have one of these things. So if you're one of those people who's like, I want to build a farm on a remote planet, you either need to hire a Pioneer or build or have one yourself. Those are the only two options you got. So
you need a sign, Paul, that just says the best at what it does. You've said it like 5 times, but that is literally what these are. That's are the best.
But
that's literally
the best at what it does. And,
yeah,
and that really sums it up, isn't it? That top tier really is, when we're looking at them, it's the best at what it does, in a nutshell. And you can't get better than it at present.
What is that next one? I actually can't make that out. Next to the Endeavor. What the hell is
890?
Oh, 890 jump. Okay, that is here as well, but again, like, if I was having personal taste, because I don't like the gameplay, you can remove that from the list. And it's also another reason why you don't see me, Algared, and me recommend it very much, because the gameplay is still not as strong. But again, on an investment value, it's going to be a harder ship to find. It already costs a lot, so it's going to maximize. It is definitely high tier. Yeah,
and it can still do quite a lot as well. It can still, act as a mini carrier. It can carry 3 arrows and a bunch of 100 eyes and other ships. It does have medical. It does have cargo. It does have firepower. So it's still pretty good. It's just
and you can see that in game at the moment, Algared too, with its Alpha UEC to dollar value. It's the second highest in the game at the moment. Sorry, Paul, you going to say?
I'm just saying it's. I'm not going to say it's the best what it does, because I'm just going a meme right now.
But it is.
It's like
best at what it does.
It's like a ship. It's like one of these ships that's already on this top list. Like it's like an Idris, but it also has luxury on top of it. It's like the bottom half of the ship is just an Idris, like a smaller version of an Idris. But the top half is just pure luxury. So like if you wanted to have that super luxury and it's your personal preference, you have the 890, and then at the bottom you have all business. It's just cargo, hangars, medical beds, like holding like weapons racks, which in the game releases, you need to have a place to store all those weapons. If you want to have literally an armory, you can do that in there. Same with the.
And the other thing we've heard that they are looking at possibly adding a module to turn it into a better explorer ship. So again, it just kind of it's there, but it's I'm
turning you back, Algared, because we're tangenting. All right, Endeavor. Endeavor, like Algared and I
talk about it. We did an entire video on it.
Yeah, I know, but I think I'll let you talk about it, Paul, because me and Algared talk about it a lot. So we'll just let you talk about it.
It's the best at what it does.
Yeah. And I look, I'll be honest, it's probably right up there in this tier list. It's probably almost close to the, I don't know, it'd probably be the top one.
Tier. Absolute top bracket.
Especially when you look at the...
We've never actually talked about that, but it's definitely in the top 3. I'll give you that.
It's $350 or something like that for the base.
Yeah.
It's incredibly low for what it is. When you put all the modules on it, it would be the size of a Bengal in terms of its size. It's just ridiculous about what you can do with that thing.
Yeah.
And when you look at the cab is probably one of the most heavily armored or heavily protected assets
modular
in the game.
It
Flying
can
the
actually have
Suns.
an entire saucer section separation. It's nuts. This thing is like it's a Swiss Army knife of value.
So there's no other ship can get as close to the sun as the Endeavour's cab.
All right, we kind of talked about the Orion, so for sake of time, I'm going to move us on from the Orion. So sorry if you're a fan of the Orion, but we did talk about that. Polaris. Yeah. Now, for me, the value in this ship is the smallest capital ship in the game, and the fact that it's got a hangar on it, so you can cycle fighters through, and so where something like a Perseus or a Hammerhead is on its own, it also offers a little bit of support where you can have fighters go with you, and you can refuel and repair those fighters on the move. And those two things, I think, it's probably going to be the most popular capital in the game. Probably, you'll see it more than any other capital, just because
accessible.
of that. Yeah, more accessible.
It's more accessible because unlike a Bengal or even a Javelin, it requires so few people in comparison to function properly. So
it does the same types of things that the 890 does, but it's cheaper and it has better weapons.
Yeah.
So
the ship that people get scared of when we recommend the Kraken. Look, I've talked about this to cows come home, so I'm going to let you two gents talk. Tell me about the Kraken.
I'm not going to say it's the best at what it does. I'm going to say it's your org base.
Yeah,
it's a flying org base. It is god tier, end game level, top of the line, must have. Every organization is going to have at least one, if not multiple of these. It is so flexible; it can do anything you want it to be. Yep. It is such a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the value of it. Yes, all of these ships require lots of people to run them, but just one Javelin is going to make just ridiculous amounts of money in whatever it wants to do. It's just.
Did you say Javelin?
He did say Javelin.
But he's talking about the Javelin as well. Yeah, correct. We get you. We're just teasing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Javelin on the other side is going to lose money, but that's another story
right.
entirely.
We're about to get that in a minute. So
if you look at the Kraken and the Endeavour, they're probably I think they're the only two floating space station or mobile space stations we've got in game.
Yeah,
but that's how I've described the Endeavour like that for years, and the Kraken's exactly the same. It's a mobile space station.
We've mentioned that a few times that we'll possibly commonly see those two as floating little cities quite a bit. So yeah, I'm going to move on the Nautilus. For me, the Nautilus is not the ship itself; it's just the passive of the ability to drop a minefield, fly home to base, come back with another ship, and you're kind of almost getting like two ships for one. Paul, your take on the Nautilus?
It's a Polaris, but with more sneaky aspects. It's what it is. It's less of a damage dealer and more of a
deterrent,
sneak, like a deterrent. Yeah, but it's basically a Polaris, but just a different style of gameplay. So if you like the Polaris, but you don't want to go charging the battle,
it's non-direct. Where the other one, the Polaris is like right up in your face with the torpedoes.
Yeah,
Algared.
For me, the Nautilus is low on the high grade, mainly because it is that deterrent ship.
Yep.
If you're not using the mines, you're actually misusing it. So if you're trying to use it as an escort ship, you're an idiot.
It uses as a defense ship, but
if you're using it as a defense ship and dropping mines, then great. But if you're not dropping the mines or using the mines, you're actually losing so much of its offensive capability. Yeah. It's insane, and so that's why it drops down for me.
Area of control is what I'd call that.
But area of control, defending your Nautilus, defending your Endeavour, defending your Kraken if you've got it set up as a space station, great. But it's a niche ship in that sense. And like you'd say, you drop your mine, send it off, bring back a Nautilus or even a Perseus to sit behind those mines and have more guns.
All right, so we're at the 35-minute mark here, so I'm going to combine a few of them again. We've got the Reclaimer, the Banner Merchantman, and the Crucible. I think Paul can say it again and just say it's...
Do you mean?
They're the best at what they do. They're the best at what it does.
100%. Mobile store on the...
I'll be very quick about this.
Go ahead.
Crucible's a flying garage. It also can repair capital ships. The mobile store of the Banner Merchantman plus cargo variants, it's priced way low to what it does.
Yep.
Even if it's doesn't grow, it's still like the Kmart, the Kraken.
The mini mart.
I call it the Kmart. It's a mini mart. It's
no, but then you said crack. Kmart, crack. But anyway, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, the Kmart, the crack, the Kraken Privateer. It's so much bigger and so much more expensive compared to the Banner Merchantman, and of course the Reclaimer, the Claw. 𝐶law. Yeah. It's a refinery and it's a refinery and like a salvage ship all in one. It's the Orion, you know.
And those 3 ships, they're actually really cheap comparatively, to those top tier ships. They're all less than about 400, 450. I think the
350 for 2 of them, and the Banner Merchantman's 450. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. The Reclaimer's now 400. My bad. Yeah, 350, 400, and 450. Sorry, my bad.
So they're in that nice price range for those top tier ships as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can probably almost put these next 2 together as well. Or maybe because actually no, we'll do them individually. All right. So let's just do the Idris. So the Idris for me is kind of support combat. It's kind of like if you're not. For me, how do I put this? I still think we're going to get combat frigates, right? So for me, if the Kraken is support, this is kind of halfway between what the combat and support is going to be. Idris, for you, Algared.
For me, the Idris is always the Enterprise. I want to go deep space exploring with a crew, with lots of NPC red shirts to go with us, so we've got people to die for us instead of us. Idris.
No one's coming on your ship ever again.
No,
anyway.
No, I noticed I said NPCs to die for us.
Oh, did he? All right, I thought you said just disposable red shirts.
NPCs to die for us.
Paul, your take on the Idris.
Combat Kraken. It's like the Kraken in terms of its support, but it doesn't have nearly as much support, but it doesn't need to because it's got a giant rail gun, which we've seen in game can destroy ships in 1 to 2 shots. It's just nuts how valuable that thing is.
It was interesting to cut you off. Sorry to cut you off, but it was interesting to hear Tony talk about how they changed the logic in Xenothreat so that the ship wasn't playing as it would, otherwise no one would win.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just that good, and it's the star of the show of Squadron 42. Like everything about it is important, and of course, what's important, the most important value of this is that it is very rare. You're not going to see Idrises sold all the time. So the fact that you have an Idris in your hangar means that you are probably one, even if you're one of 10,000 people who own an Idris. That is 1 in 10,000 of millions of NPCs, if not billions of NPCs, and millions of players who are going to own that thing. The Idris is going to be an incredibly rare sight. So owning one is in high value for what it can do.
I want to add one little small thing to that. The fact that it's in Squadron 42, it's probably going to be the most absolute polished ship in the entire game.
Especially since it's the home ship, the main ship in Squadron 42, not just a ship in Squadron 42, but the ship.
Probably more details
of the game,
Probably more details too, more rooms, all that type of thing laid out. So it's probably like you're really going to get your money's worth for that ship just based on those couple of things.
Well, right, and just on that, if we go back to the Morotor, even though it's got a small flight of fighters, the flight briefing room was massive for what it was because they had to make it for Squadron 42, and so it's just the quality that's in the Idris is just above and beyond.
Yeah. The Javelin is also going to retain a bit of that too because that's also in Squadron 42, but it's also the biggest ship in the game. Look, for me, the Javelin is I guess I'm going to call it the pinnacle combat ship because it is right up the top. Yes, it does cost heaps to get, but if you're talking about maximum value from investment, this thing, Like if this goes 10 times what it was originally worth, that puts it like equivalent to $25,000. Because
what he's talking about that is 25,000, the equivalent of $25,000 of in-game cash. So
yeah,
in terms of its
yes. So that could be really, really hard to obtain as opposed to some other stuff. I'll leave it at that.
Interest is rare. If this interest is rare in terms of like MMO terminology, if the interest is a rare drop, the javelin is legendary drop. If not epic drop, you know.
And it's also modular. It's got 6 modules that are changeable. So,
and
who knows what they'll be.
Also, again, I think it falls into that org category as well. Like, it can hold up to 83 real people. I don't think you'll see it fully crewed very often. Let's put it that way. Like, the coordination to get 83. Do you remember it was like trying to get 5 people for, like, just a basic run in WoW, and then 10 for a raid, or 25 for a raid, trying to get, you know, that's something I heard come up. But I think, again, because of the way that the ship is designed, I think or this game is designed, rather, I think it'll be, there'll be a lot of drop in and drop out play with this game, and I think a lot of people with that rating system will go, "Oh, I feel like jumping on a javelin today," and so I do think you will see 83 people from around the world, especially getting together and just taking out massive fleets of NPC ships. I think it will be
rating system.
Yeah,
that rating system will be the safety net for everyone. I think.
Yeah.
It'll also be the ship that you see. If you see a javelin out, you will never see a javelin alone. You will see a javelin with Idris's and everything else like that. So she is the big Bertha, big daddy ship that everyone, if you have it, you have something that is going to be so rare and so powerful that you almost don't want to take it out unless you're facing another javelin, unless you know you're going into absolute death. So
and if you think about the javelin, like 𝐒𝐸 was saying, you generally won't see them flying alone. If you see it flying alone, I think the person's insane. Just think about the again. I know I'm being fairly harsh, but it is insane to take a javelin out by itself. I think it's insane to take an Idris out by itself. But think about the Invictus. The javelin turns up in Invictus. What does it come with? It comes with a couple of Idrises, you know, and it comes with a fleet and
hammerheads,
and that's why
It's kind of like a fleet cover in a way. Like that's why it's bringing such big guns, because it's covering all the other little ships that are kind of like the little sucky shark. What are those fish under the sharks?
Remoras.
All the other little ships are kind of around it for cover. That's essentially how I see it. All right. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on that. We got a kind of couple of requests from supporters to do this because it just makes it more clear for them, and they can kind of see where we're at. But again, nothing is foolproof. This list will change over time, and we'll try and update it.
It will.
We'll try. We might even when we do buyer's guides, we might add that ship to this list, so to speak. Yeah, I do want to make it clear, this is not a tier list. This is not a meta list or anything like that, or things like that. It's
Best
more
ships.
on it's not that. It's purely more of an investment list, is what I'd call it, and maximizing your bang for buck, as I call it.
I suppose it helps people see where we're coming from in terms of our recommendations when we're going through Fix My Fleet. Now, anyone who does a Fix My Fleet knows we spend several hours with them going through the fleet beforehand before you see that 20-minute show. But this is kind of the rationale and the thinking we go through as we're working through them, as we're listening to their thoughts and ideas and hopes and dreams and likes and dislikes. And this is part of a rationale we use when we're making those suggestions and recommendations.
Yeah. And the only little thing I'll add to that is kind of what Paul said at the beginning. You kind of have to take your own feelings and what you're into the game and kind of merge that with this, and that's what makes it really hard. And that's why we, as Algared just said, we have to go through in every Fix My Fleet and really tailor it to every single person, because there are monetary considerations. Do they want to put more money into the game? Do they not want to put more money into the game? What ships do they have? What ships do they like? What packs do they like? You know, and sometimes it's not just melt everything and start again, because so that's why Fix My Fleet is more complicated than it appears on the surface. I think I'll add, let us know what you think of this list in the comments below, and does it help you guys out? I hope it does. Paul, did you want to say something? You did this.
I said like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification. And YouTube loves it when you hit that like button and then you comment down below. Even if it's just you really like the men in suits with ties and their
as opposed to the guy in the cap
Superman
and
hat
t-shirt
and the derby t-shirt.
Do you know there's going to be a meme of me going the best at what he does, and it'll just be me, and then you two snap. Yeah, cool. Just so we're on the same page, right?
Yeah.
I will just add while we're talking about comments, I'll bring this back up again. Don't forget to, if you want to enter the giveaway, hashtag Jaden, just as it's spelt there. I'll also have it in the description below, just so you can see what it looks like, and we'll be using that to pick out the winner over the next however long it takes. All right. He's been Algared. He's been Paul or the Astropub. Do you want to let people know where... I think it's been a while, Paul, before we go. Do you want to let people know where they can find you? Besides school?
You can find me on twitch.tv/theastropub or youtube.com/theastropub. On Twitch, I do gameplay content. I also do similar kind of discussion content with people through like the captain's table or through office hours. My captain's table thing is I bring people from like Algared was on. He was on
there today. I was going to say.
It's been a long day now, hasn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a long day.
I'm glad I'm not you today, because I've done 3 episodes in one day. Sometimes it can get a bit stressful. Yeah. I will also say, Algared, you've been doing a bit of streaming as well. Do you want to pimp yourself as well?
I've been doing a little bit of streaming with my alt account, so just a Toon and an Aurora. Taking up the Aurora, just having fun in the game, doing missions, just seeing what a beginner could do and how far a beginner could take a lowly Aurora. And that's really it. It's not a 0 to hero. It's just...
Just playing the game.
Remind me to tell you what Hayden's going to do after the show. He's got an idea for a 0 to hero, and it's quite funny. I'll tell you guys after. All right. He's been Algared. He's been Paul. I mean, almost forgot your name, Paul, or Astropub. I've been 𝐒𝐿. We're going to go to sleep because it's been a long day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Take care.
Best at what he does.
Not very professional.